So the political consequences of a major hurricane can be significant for a sitting president. Of course, we all remember George W. Bush in his time in the White House, widely criticized for his response to Hurricane Katrina back in 2005, which really was the first major crisis of his second term.
Right.
And it almost seemed like at that point it was all downhill from there after Katrina.
And the fallout from that has continued for many, many years. That's what people always go back to. Let's bring in now Richard Levick. He is the CEO of Levick Communications, a firm that specializes in crisis management and consulting. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, earlier today, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley tweeted the president. In fact, I think we have that tweet. He said, "Real Donald Trump, keep on top of Hurricane Harvey. Don't make the same mistake that President Bush made with Katrina." The president promptly responded by saying, well, not promptly, but, you know, he responded quickly and said, "I'm on it, friend, already coordinating state and federal response teams." How important is it for the president to come off as very presidential right now in this time of a potential disaster?
Well, I think for the moment, of course, it's urgently important, and I think he will. I think that this is the kind of crisis, this is the kind of natural disaster that this president was built for. That is, it's an act of God that is likely to strike the United States and, in fact, a red state. He's not going to need a teleprompter to look genuine. He's going to be feeling this. Two, I think that since the Katrina, there's no question that FEMA has learned its lesson. They are much better at coordinating with the states. There's much greater flexibility. Three, he's got General Kelly with him, who had in his earlier position at DHS, Homeland Security, responsibility for FEMA. So I think that as a general, you're going to see the kind of command and control that you need to see here. And finally, I think that Brock Long, over at the head of FEMA, is a remarkable leader who's got so many years of experience in Alabama as a regional director for FEMA on hurricanes. He knows what needs to be done. This administration is getting ahead of the storm.
I think, and that's a good point you made there, because I think back to after Katrina, Michael Brown, whose big achievement was heading up a horse organization of some sort, had no crisis management experience, and we saw President Bush say, "You're doing a heck of a job, Brownie." It seems like this is a much different cast of characters, right people at the right time.
You know, it is, and in many ways, it's a mirror situation. That is that President Bush had so many of the right people, so many qualified people in different important offices, and yet over at FEMA, he had one of the least qualified in Michael Brown. Here, in an administration that has people in energy and education and EPA who would largely want to disband those organizations, over at FEMA, in Brock Long, you have someone who received near universal approval by the Senate, 96-4 vote. He has so many years of experience. He's the right person and understands what needs to be done. This presidency will not be defined by what happens in the next 72 hours, the way the Bush administration was with Katrina.
I think the last, 10 days or so, the president's had some up and down, certainly some negative press for his rally and the things that he said about what happened down in Charlottesville. If you were advising him, what would you tell him to do as we head into this time period with Harvey?
Well, there are a few things. One, in terms of instantly, he's going to be at Camp David, very smart. It's a good thing this weekend he's not going to be on a golf course. Let's hope that he doesn't go out to dinner at some place that's inappropriate for the moment. He needs to be constantly in touch with Governor Abbott, as he has been so far, from Texas, also with Governor Edwards of Louisiana, and so far he has been. He'll need to go to the scene at the appropriate time.
Right. He
knows how to do that. When President Obama couldn't get to Louisiana because Governor Edwards asked him not to right after the flood, Donald Trump, as a candidate, understood the moment and was instantly there.
By the way, you mentioned Governor Greg Abbott, who succeeded Rick Perry as governor of Texas. Here's what he had to say today.
I have issued a request for a presidential disaster declaration, a major disaster declaration that I issued to the president moments ago. This, of course, will trigger the or additional help and assistance from the federal government that the state of Texas is asking for. We can obviously tell already at this stage this is going to be a very major disaster.
And let me ask you one thing here. When it comes to, and we go back to the politics of everything, because as you said, and we've sort of laid out there, you know, the president has his cards in a line right here. But you have people in the orbit of the Trump administration. One of them is David Clark, who's the sheriff of Milwaukee County. He's become a national figure. And he sent a tweet out last night, which I saw it. It said, Democrats and liberal media are no doubt hoping for Hurricane Harvey to make a direct hit on Texas so they can blame real Donald Trump. And I'm quoting, I won't quote, he uses a curse word at the end of that. I got to, you know, I think at this point, I think that the wise thing to do, and I think you'd agree, is keep politics out of this. Keep, you know, stay out of the fray. I feel like they're almost setting the stage, people in that orbit, to say, well, you know, if the Democrats want to start blaming somebody, you have your boogeyman out there.
I think I think you're absolutely right. I think that's a terrible tweet, and these are Americans, but certainly any human being we would be concerned about. So, I think we have to dispense with that tweet and say it's extraordinarily poor judgment. I think where politics will come into this is, and some of this is out of the president's control. How bad a storm is this? How long does it last? How many lives are lost? Does he go to the scene? And does he look like he's helping out? He can control that, but these other things that he can't. And the other challenge is going to be, you've already seen with oil and natural gas, nearly 25%, a quarter of platforms have already been closed down. Major ports are going to be closed down. Does this mean an impact in gas prices? Those are the kinds of things that will start to become political if the damage extends over a long period of time.
All right, Richard Levick, it is great to have you in tonight. We certainly appreciate it. Happy Friday.